From Nothing to Wealth. How to Build Wealth from Zero. Zero is not the end. It is the beginning. You don't start at zero because you are weak. You start at zero because every real story does. Before wealth, there is emptiness. Before freedom, there is pressure. Before abundance, there is the uncomfortable silence where nothing seems to be working yet. This audiobook is called Build Wealth from Zero, but make no mistake, this is not a story about money. This is a story about identity, about belief, about what happens when someone decides that their current circumstances will not be their final destination. Most people misunderstand zero. They think zero means failure. They think zero means they are behind. They think zero means they missed their chance. But zero is not a verdict. Zero is a starting line. Every empire began as an idea with no funding. Every fortune began as a decision made in uncertainty. Every wealthy person you admire once stood exactly where you are now, staring at a future that didn't yet exist, wondering if it was even possible. The difference was never luck. It was never intelligence. It was never background. It was thinking. Wealth does not begin in the bank account. It begins in the mind that refuses to stay small. If you have nothing right now, no savings, no connections, no advantages, listen carefully. You are not behind. You are unattached, and that is power. Nothing owns you yet. No lifestyle traps you. No reputation limits you. No comfort numbs you. Zero gives you something most people lose forever: the ability to move fast, take risks, and rebuild yourself from the inside out. This audiobook is not here to comfort you. It is here to reprogram you. Because the first truth you must accept is this: wealth is not built by people who wait to feel ready. Wealth is built by people who move while uncertain. And that journey starts now. Chapter 2. Hang on a sec. Write in the comments what you'd like us to talk about in the next video. We promise to read all the comments and pick the best and most relevant topics. Thanks. Chapter 2. Why most people never escape zero. Let's be honest. Most people don't stay poor because they lack opportunity. They stay poor because they adopt the psychology of survival. Survival thinking sounds responsible, it sounds safe, it sounds mature, but it is deadly. Survival thinking asks, how do I get through this month? Wealth thinking asks, how do I design the next 10 years? Survival thinking says, at least I'm not struggling like others. Wealth thinking says, at least I'm not settling. From an early age, people are trained to aim low in the name of realism. They are taught to protect themselves from disappointment by shrinking their ambition. And slowly, without realizing it, they trade possibility for predictability. Here's the hard truth. You cannot build wealth while thinking like someone who is afraid to lose. Fear creates short-term decisions. Short-term decisions create small outcomes. Small outcomes reinforce fear. This is the cycle that traps people for decades. They save but never invest in themselves. They work but never build ownership. They earn but never design leverage. They mistake motion for progress. Wealth requires something uncomfortable: delayed rewards. It requires saying no to pleasures that feel deserved. It requires walking a path where results lag behind effort. It requires enduring periods where nothing externally validates you. Most people quit there. They say, this isn't working, not realizing that nothing meaningful works quickly. This audiobook will challenge the lies you've been told about money. Because the truth is simple, even if it's uncomfortable. You don't get rich by working harder. You get rich by thinking differently about value, time, and ownership. And until your thinking changes, your results won't. That is why the first phase of building wealth from zero is not hustle. It is mental separation. You must separate yourself from the beliefs that keep the majority stuck. You must stop outsourcing your financial thinking to people who have never built anything themselves. You must stop asking, "What's safe?" and start asking, "What scales?" This is where the journey truly begins, because once your mind shifts, your actions follow. And once your actions follow, zero will never look the same again. Chapter 3, The Most Dangerous Lie About Money. There is a lie so deeply embedded in society that most people never question it. A lie repeated by schools, families, employers, and even well-meaning friends. The lie is this: work hard, save money, and everything will work out. It sounds responsible, it sounds mature, it sounds safe, and that is exactly why it is dangerous. Because hard work alone does not create wealth. Saving alone does not create freedom. And working it out without a plan almost always leads to exhaustion, not abundance. Here is what no one explains clearly. Hard work is a tool, not a strategy. You can work hard your entire life and still remain financially fragile. You can save consistently and still never escape dependence on a paycheck. You can do everything right and still end up stuck. Why? Because effort without ownership builds someone else's future. When you trade time for money, you cap your upside. There are only so many hours in a day. There are only so many years of energy in your body. And once they're spent, they're gone. Wealth is built when effort turns into assets. Assets are things that continue to produce value without your constant presence. This is the line most people never cross. They stay on the side of earn and spend, earn and save, earn and repeat. They never move to build and own. And here's the painful truth. The system is not designed to make you wealthy. It is designed to make you productive. Productive people keep the system running. Owners control the direction of the system. If you start from zero, this distinction matters more than anything else you will learn. Because your goal is not just to make money. Your goal is to escape dependency. Dependency on an employer. Dependency on a schedule. Dependency on constant effort. The moment you understand this, money stops being the goal. Freedom becomes the goal, and freedom demands a completely different way of thinking. Chapter 4. Why income alone will never save you. Let's address something uncomfortable. Income feels powerful, but it is deceptive. A raise feels like progress. A higher salary feels like security. A bigger paycheck feels like success. But income without control is fragile. If your lifestyle rises with your income, nothing changes. If your expenses expand with your earnings, you are still trapped, just at a higher level. This is why people who earn six figures can feel just as stressed as people earning far less. They upgraded the income. They never upgraded the system. Wealth is not about how much you make. It is about how much of what you make is converted into leverage. Leverage means your money, time, or skills work for you, not just through you. Here's the rule most people never hear. Income feeds your present. Assets feed your future. If all your income is consumed by today, tomorrow owns you. Starting from zero forces you to confront this early, and that's a gift. Because you can design your life before lifestyle inflation traps you. Instead of asking, "How do I earn more?" you must begin asking, "How do I build something that earns without me?" This shift changes everything. It changes how you spend. It changes how you learn. It changes what opportunities you say yes to and what you ignore. It turns patience into a weapon. It turns discipline into an advantage. It turns time into an ally instead of an enemy. And here's the part most people don't want to hear. Building assets feels slow at first. It feels invisible. It feels unrewarded. There are long stretches where no one claps, no one notices, no one understands what you're doing. But that silence is where wealth is born. Because while others chase visible success, you are constructing invisible foundations. And foundations, once set, support everything that comes after. Chapter 5. The Mindset Shift That Changes Everything. Before money changes, thinking must change. This is not motivational fluff. It is structural reality. Every financial result you see in your life today is a reflection of decisions made under a certain belief system. And if that belief system stays the same, the results will repeat, no matter how hard you try. People who build wealth from zero do not start with better resources. They start with a different relationship to money. Most people see money as something to spend or protect. The wealthy in progress see money as something to deploy. This is the first mental upgrade. Money is not a reward. Money is a tool that can either buy comfort for a moment or buy leverage for a lifetime. When you have very little, every dollar feels emotional. Spending feels like relief. Saving feels like sacrifice. Investing feels like risk. But here's the truth that changes the game. Risk is not investing money. Risk is staying dependent forever. Staying in the same cycle year after year is the greatest financial risk of all. The mindset shift begins when you stop asking, "What can this money get me right now?" and start asking, "What can this money build?" Build skills, build systems, build ownership, build options. This does not require large amounts of money. It requires intentional thinking. Someone with $100 in the right mindset is wealthier than someone with $10,000 and no direction. Because direction compounds, confusion leaks. Another critical shift is understanding delayed gratification. Wealth is a delayed reward system. The earlier you accept that most of the work will not pay immediately, the faster you escape frustration. Most people quit not because they fail, but because success doesn't arrive on their timeline. But timelines don't create wealth. Consistency does. And consistency only survives when you expect the delay. This is where discipline replaces motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline builds. And discipline is simply the ability to act today for a future version of yourself you respect. Chapter 6. Why zero is not a disadvantage. Starting from zero feels like a curse, but it is often an advantage in disguise. When you have nothing, you have clarity. No illusions, no bloated lifestyle to maintain, no ego attached to appearances. You are free to design from scratch. People who start with more often carry invisible chains. Debt disguised as comfort. Habits disguised as rewards. Obligations disguised as success. Starting from zero means you can choose clean. Clean expenses, clean priorities, clean direction. Here's something few talk about. People who inherit money often inherit confusion. People who earn wealth from nothing inherit understanding. Understanding how money moves. Understanding how effort converts to value. Understanding how patience creates power. When you start from zero, every step forward is intentional. You learn to measure progress differently, not by how much you spend, but by how much control you gain. Control over your time, control over your income streams, control over your decisions. This is why many people who get lucky with money lose it, and people who slowly build wealth rarely do, because wealth built from zero is built on awareness, and awareness protects. The real question is not, can I build wealth from nothing? The real question is, am I willing to think differently long enough for something new to form? Because the world rewards patience paired with action. Chapter 7. The First Practical Foundation. Control before growth. Dear viewers, write which city you're from. It's interesting to see which corners of the world are watching our videos. Before wealth grows, it must first be contained. Most people try to grow money they cannot control. That is like pouring water into a broken cup. Control is not restriction. Control is direction. If you don't know exactly where your money goes, your money controls you. This is why the first practical foundation is not investing. It is not business. It is not even saving. It is visibility. You must see the truth clearly before you can change it. Wealth builders do something most people avoid. They look directly at their numbers. Not emotionally, not judgmentally, but honestly. Income, expenses, debts, leaks, no shame, no drama, just data. Because numbers don't judge you. They reveal patterns. And patterns are changeable. Here's the rule that separates builders from dreamers. You don't budget to restrict life. You budget to buy freedom. A budget is not punishment. It is a plan for escape. When every dollar has a purpose, money stops disappearing. Random spending is not harmless. It is silent theft from your future. Every untracked dollar is a vote for staying where you are. Control creates space, and space creates options. Even if you start with $20 left after bills, that $20 controlled consistently is more powerful than $500 spent emotionally. This is the first discipline. Spend intentionally or don't spend at all, not because you are poor, but because you are building. Chapter 8. Income is not wealth, and why this truth matters. One of the biggest lies society teaches is this: make more money and everything will be fine. Income helps, but income alone does not create wealth. If income created wealth, most high earners would be financially free. They are not, because income without structure creates faster problems. Wealth is not how much you earn. Wealth is how much you keep, deploy, and multiply. This is why two people earning the same salary end up in completely different financial realities. One increases lifestyle with every raise. The other increases leverage. One upgrades comfort. The other upgrades control. Wealth builders understand something critical early. Income is temporary. Systems are permanent. A job can be lost. Skills can be transferred. Assets continue working. This does not mean you quit your job. It means you use your job strategically. Your paycheck is not your destination. It is your funding source. A tool to learn, experiment, build, invest. People who escape the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle treat employment as a launch pad, not a cage. They ask different questions. How can I convert this income into something that outlives my effort? What skills does this job fund me to learn? What assets can I build quietly while others spend loudly? This is where patience separates futures. You will not feel rich while building wealth. You will often feel behind. But behind compared to who? People chasing appearances? Or people quietly constructing independence? True wealth is invisible while it's forming. Chapter 9. The hidden traps that keep people poor, even when they try. Most people do not stay poor because they are lazy. They stay poor because they are trained. trained to react instead of plan, trained to consume instead of construct, trained to seek comfort instead of control. These traps are subtle, and that's why they work. The first trap is emotional spending, buying to feel better, buying to feel equal, buying to feel rewarded. Emotion-driven money decisions create momentary relief and long-term stress. Wealth builders delay emotion and amplify intention. They ask, does this move me forward or keep me entertained? Entertainment is not evil, but confusion between entertainment and progress is. The second trap is lifestyle inflation. Every raise becomes a bigger apartment. Every bonus becomes a new car. Every promotion becomes new obligations. This trap is dangerous because it feels like success. But success that increases dependency is not freedom. It's a prettier cage. Wealth builders cap lifestyle below income growth, not forever, just long enough to redirect surplus into assets. The third trap is false urgency. I need it now. I deserve it now. I'll fix things later. Later never comes. Urgency without direction leads to exhaustion, not wealth. And the final trap, the most damaging, is comparison. Comparing your Chapter 3 to someone else's Chapter 20. Comparison kills patience, and patience is the currency of wealth. You don't need to be faster than everyone. You need to be consistent longer than most. When you escape these traps, progress becomes inevitable, which leads us to the next truth. Wealth is not built by dramatic leaps. It is built by boring repetition, done with discipline. Chapter 10. The compound effect nobody talks about. Everyone wants results. Few respect process. Wealth grows quietly because compounding is invisible at first. Small actions done daily feel insignificant until suddenly they are not. Saving a small amount consistently, learning a skill every day, investing modestly but repeatedly, reinvesting instead of consuming. These actions do not impress anyone at the beginning. That's why most people quit. But compound growth rewards stubborn consistency, not brilliance. 1% improvement stack. One decision multiplied by time becomes a destiny. This is why wealth builders obsess over habits, not hacks. They don't ask, how can I get rich fast? They ask, what can I repeat for 10 years? Because 10 years of correct behavior beats one lucky year every time. The compounding effect works in both directions. Bad habits compound debt. Good habits compound freedom. And the most powerful compounding asset is not money. It is identity. Once you see yourself as a builder, not a spender. Once you act like an owner, not a consumer. Once you align daily behavior with long-term vision, wealth becomes a byproduct, not a chase. Chapter 11, What an Asset Really Is and Why Most People Never Own One. Dear viewers, please write in the comments what assets you buy or are interested in. Perhaps these are stocks or maybe cryptocurrency. It is interesting to see how you structure your investment portfolio. Also, please write what you think about real estate. Is it still relevant to buy flats today? An asset is not something that looks expensive. An asset is not something that impresses others. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket without demanding your time in exchange. That definition alone separates the wealthy from everyone else. Most people work for money. Wealthy people build things that work for them. An asset can be small. It can start ugly. It can earn slowly. But if it produces value repeatedly without your constant presence, it is a seed of freedom. The problem is not that assets are complicated. The problem is that people are trained to chase income, not ownership. A job is income. A business system is an asset. A skill you can monetize repeatedly is an asset. An investment that grows without daily effort is an asset. The wealthy don't ask, "How much can I earn this month?" They ask, "What can I build that earns whether I show up or not?" This mindset shift changes everything, because once you own even one asset, no matter how small, your relationship with money changes. You stop feeling hunted by bills. You stop fearing time off. You stop seeing money as fragile. Assets create psychological safety before financial abundance, and this is why most people never build them. Assets require delayed gratification, learning before earning, effort without applause, patience without validation. Consumption gives instant pleasure. Assets give delayed freedom. Most choose pleasure. Wealth builders choose leverage, and leverage doesn't always start with money. It starts with skills. Chapter 12. Skills are the first assets you must own. Before money works for you, you must work on yourself. Skills are the lowest cost, highest return assets available. They require no permission, no large capital, no perfect timing, only commitment. The mistake beginners make is chasing money before mastery. They want profits without competence, returns without understanding, results without foundation. But skills compound faster than money at the beginning. A marketable skill increases income. Increased income funds assets. Assets create independence. This is the sequence: writing, sales, negotiation, digital creation, analysis, problem solving. These skills don't expire. They don't get outsourced easily. They travel with you anywhere. And once you master one, just one, doors open, opportunities multiply. You begin to see value everywhere because you know how to extract it. Wealth builders are not lucky. They are trained. They see problems as profit opportunities because they possess the tools to solve them. And here's the secret most never hear. You don't need many skills. You need one skill mastered deeply, then applied repeatedly. Depth beats variety. Once income rises through skill, the next step becomes critical: protecting and multiplying what you earn. Because earning more without strategy only creates bigger problems. Chapter 13. Financial Defense. Why keeping money is harder than making it. Friend, write your opinion on this topic in the comments. Do you agree with us or not? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Making money feels powerful. Keeping it requires discipline. This is where most people fail, not because they don't earn enough, but because they leak everything they earn. Money disappears quietly. Subscriptions you forgot about. Impulse purchases justified as rewards. Lifestyle upgrades that feel harmless, but lock you into higher expenses, helping others before securing yourself. The wealthy understand a brutal truth. Every dollar must have a job. If money doesn't have a purpose, it escapes. Financial defense is not about deprivation. It's about control. You don't protect money by avoiding enjoyment. You protect it by designing systems that remove emotion. Automatic savings, predefined investment rules, clear spending categories, hard limits that require conscious decisions to break. The poor rely on willpower. The wealthy rely on systems. Because willpower gets tired, systems don't. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Most people aren't broke because of low income. They're broke because of uncontrolled spending behavior. Your first financial milestone is not wealth. It is stability. Stability means bills are predictable, savings exist. Emergencies don't create panic. Decisions are not driven by fear. Without stability, wealth cannot grow. Money under stress makes bad decisions. Calm money multiplies. This is why the wealthy obsess over defense before offense. Before investing aggressively, they eliminate chaos. Before taking risks, they secure the base. Because no amount of earning matters if money flows out faster than it comes in. And once your foundation is stable, you unlock the next phase, multiplication. Chapter 14, How Money Multiplies and Why Time is the Real Wealth. Money multiplies through time, not speed, not hype, not luck. Time. Compounding is quiet. It doesn't excite beginners. It doesn't impress crowds. But it builds fortunes invisibly. One decision repeated consistently over years beats 100 impulsive moves. This is why the wealthy are patient. They don't chase every opportunity. They don't panic during downturns. They don't overreact to short-term noise. They think in decades. Time is the only resource you can never recover. Money can be earned again. Time cannot. And here's the shift that changes everything. You stop asking, how much can this make me? And start asking, how long can this work for me? Short-term gains create excitement. Long-term systems create freedom. Wealth grows when effort decreases but returns continue. That's the definition of leverage. Leverage through assets, systems, automation, ownership. Not effort alone. Effort is limited, ownership scales. And the earlier you start, the less you need. Time rewards early action brutally. Waiting costs more than mistakes. Even imperfect decisions compound if started early. Perfect plans that never start produce nothing. This is why wealthy individuals value progress over precision. They start small, they adjust, they stay consistent. Chapter 15, The Comparison Trap, Why Watching Others Keeps You Broke. Comparison is subtle. It doesn't attack you loudly, it whispers. It shows you what others bought, where they traveled, how fast they seem to be winning. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin spending money you haven't earned yet, to impress people who aren't paying your bills. This is one of the most expensive habits on earth. The wealthy understand something most people never learn. You never see the full picture. You see highlights, not balance sheets. You see results, not debt. You see outcomes, not stress. Many people who look rich are fragile. Many people who are rich look ordinary. Because real wealth doesn't need validation. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't rush to prove anything. Comparison creates urgency. Urgency creates bad decisions. You rush investments. You overextend expenses. You abandon your plan because someone else appears ahead. But ahead of what? Different starting points, different timelines, different goals. Your financial journey is not a race. It's a construction project. And comparing your foundation to someone else's finished building will only make you quit. The disciplined path requires isolation. Fewer opinions, less noise, more focus. The moment you stop watching how others live, you regain clarity on how you should build. And clarity is priceless. Because wealth is not built by copying lifestyles. It's built by copying principles. Chapter 16, Delayed Gratification, the skill that separates the rich from everyone else. The ability to wait is rare. The ability to wait while others indulge is even rarer. Delayed gratification is not about suffering. It's about choice. Choosing long-term freedom over short-term pleasure. Choosing assets over appearances. Choosing security over status. Choosing ownership over consumption. Every major financial breakthrough requires this skill. Saving before spending. Investing before upgrading. Building before celebrating. The wealthy don't avoid pleasure forever. They simply schedule it after leverage is built. Most people do the opposite. They consume first, then hope something remains. It rarely does. Delayed gratification compounds, not just financially, psychologically. It strengthens discipline. It builds confidence. It creates self-trust. Every time you say no to an impulse, you reinforce control. And control is power. This is why the wealthy feel calm around money. They are not slaves to desire. They decide. And eventually, the rewards become exponential. Because once assets start producing, once systems are in place, once money works harder than effort, gratification no longer needs to be delayed. It becomes sustainable. Chapter 17, From Builder to Owner, the moment wealth becomes real. There is a quiet moment in every wealth journey. It doesn't come with applause. No one announces it. There's no dramatic celebration, but everything changes. It's the moment you realize you no longer rely solely on your effort to survive. Your money begins to move, even when you are still. This is the shift from builder to owner. Builders trade time for progress. Owners trade systems for freedom. Most people spend their lives building, working harder, learning more, pushing forward, yet never cross this line. Because building feels productive. Ownership feels slow. But ownership is where wealth lives. Ownership is boring on the surface, spreadsheets, processes, automation, long stretches where nothing exciting happens. And then, suddenly, everything accelerates. Rent arrives whether you feel motivated or not. Dividends appear without extra hours. Businesses generate revenue without your presence. This is not luck. This is structure. The wealthy don't ask, "How can I make more money this month?" They ask, "How can I reduce my dependence on effort permanently?" Ownership answers that question. Assets don't care about your mood. They don't burn out. They don't get emotional. They perform. And once you own enough performing systems, your life regains choice. Choice to rest, choice to think, choice to say no. This is the moment money stops being stressful and starts becoming strategic. Chapter 18, The Final Shift, Money as a Tool, Not a Goal. If you appreciate our efforts and our thoughts, subscribe and like this video. We need to show the world that there are many people like us. We must always continue to improve. Here is the truth few people talk about. Money is not the destination. It's the instrument. Chasing money alone leads to emptiness. Using money intentionally creates freedom. The wealthy understand this early or learn it painfully later. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are reckless, it magnifies chaos. If you are disciplined, it magnifies stability. If you are generous, it magnifies impact. That is why mindset always comes first. Money is a mirror. This is why some people win the lottery and end up broke again. They never changed how they think. Wealth built from zero teaches humility. It teaches patience. It teaches restraint. It teaches respect for process. And once money becomes a tool, everything shifts. You stop chasing validation. You stop proving yourself. You stop measuring worth by price tags. You begin designing life. Time becomes more valuable than things. Peace becomes more valuable than status. Control becomes more valuable than speed. This is the true reward of wealth. Not luxury, leverage. Not excess, options. Not noise, calm. In the final message, we will bring everything together. The complete framework. Chapter 20, Why Wealth is Slow and Why That's a Gift. If there is one truth that separates those who build wealth from those who chase it, it is this. Real wealth is slow by design. And that slowness is not a flaw, it is protection. If wealth came quickly, it would disappear just as fast. If money flowed instantly, discipline would never be learned. If freedom arrived overnight, character would never be built. The delay is the filter. Time removes the impatient. Time exposes the reckless. Time humbles the arrogant. And time rewards the consistent. Most people misunderstand this and quit early. They save for 6 months and expect miracles. They invest for 1 year and expect transformation. They build for a season and wonder why nothing changed. But wealth is not seasonal. It is cumulative. Every dollar saved is not just money. It is proof of control. Every investment held is not just capital. It is trust in the future. Every system built is not just income. It is leverage over time. The wealthy do not ask, how fast can this work? They ask, how long can I stay consistent? That single question changes everything. Chapter 21. Compounding is not just about money. Most people think compounding applies only to investments. They are wrong. Everything compounds. Habits compound. Knowledge compounds. Confidence compounds. Decision-making compounds. So does neglect. Every year you avoid learning money basics. Ignorance compounds. Every year you delay investing. Lost opportunity compounds. Every year you live without intention. Regret compounds. This is why small actions matter. A small savings habit today becomes financial resilience tomorrow. A modest investment today becomes freedom later. A simple skill learned today becomes income in the future. You are never just choosing today. You are choosing who you become multiplied by time. That is the true equation of wealth. Chapter 22. Why most people never feel ready. Here is the lie that keeps people poor. I'll start when I'm ready. Ready usually means more money, more confidence, more clarity, more time. And those things never arrive before action. They arrive because of action. The wealthy do not wait for readiness. They act, adjust, and grow into competence. They invest while uncertain. They build while imperfect. They learn while uncomfortable. And over time, momentum replaces doubt. You do not need the perfect plan. You need a direction. You do not need certainty. You need commitment. And you do not need permission. You need ownership. Chapter 23. The moment you stop thinking like an employee. There is a moment in every wealth journey when something shifts internally. It's subtle. You stop asking, how much do I make? And start asking, what do I own? You stop asking, what do I get paid? And start asking, what produces value without me? You stop thinking in hours and start thinking in systems. This is the moment you stop being dependent. Not because you quit your job, but because your identity changes. You begin to see opportunities everywhere. You begin to see inefficiencies. You begin to see leverage, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. This is the birth of the builder mindset. Chapter 24. Stability before scale. One of the most dangerous mistakes beginners make is trying to scale too early. The wealthy know a different rule. Stability comes before expansion. You do not build 10 income streams before mastering one. You do not take massive risks before securing a base. You do not chase growth before protecting survival. First, you stabilize your finances. Then you optimize your systems. Then you expand intentionally. Slow growth that survives beats fast growth that collapses. Every time. Chapter 25. The Wealth Identity Checkpoint. Ask yourself honestly, do I see money as a tool or a source of stress? Do I view saving as restriction or protection? Do I treat investing as gambling or ownership? Your answers reveal your current identity, and identity drives behavior. The goal is not just to have more money. Chapter 26, From Earning to Owning. At some point on the road from nothing to wealth, every successful person crosses an invisible line. On one side of the line is earning, on the other side is owning. Earning is effort-based. Owning is structure-based. Earning requires you to show up every day. Owning allows value to show up for you even when you don't. This is why two people can work equally hard and end up in completely different places. One spends decades trading time for money. The other spends years converting money into systems. Ownership is not about greed. It is about freedom from fragility. When you own assets, your life becomes less dependent on any single paycheck, employer, or circumstance. You stop fearing disruption because disruption often benefits owners. That is why the wealthy prioritize ownership early, even in small forms. Chapter 27, Why Control Matters More Than Income. Many people chase higher income and ignore control, but control is the real prize. Control over your time, control over your decisions, control over your future. A high income with no control is still a trap. A modest income with ownership is a foundation. This is why some people earning less live with less anxiety. They are not guessing where their future comes from. They are building it. Control compounds faster than income ever could. 70. Why most people quit right before it works. Here's a truth that almost no one talks about. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they quit too early, right before momentum shows up, right before compounding begins, right before effort turns into leverage. This is the danger zone, the phase where results are still invisible, but the foundation is already built. At this stage, bills may still exist. The numbers may still feel small. Progress may feel slow. And that's exactly when the mind starts whispering, maybe this isn't working. Maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should go back to what's comfortable. But comfort is expensive. It costs you your future. Wealth creation has a delay, a long one. Effort comes first. Understanding comes second. Results come last. Most people reverse the order. They want proof before commitment. They want certainty before discipline. But money doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards consistency under uncertainty. The ones who win are not the smartest. They are the ones who stayed when nothing happened, who kept building when no one noticed, who kept saving, investing, learning, and adjusting while others gave up. This chapter is a warning and a promise. If you're tired, that's normal. If you're frustrated, that's expected. If you feel like progress is slow, that means you're probably close. Because nothing explodes overnight, but everything grows quietly first. Stay, refine, continue. The breakthrough doesn't announce itself, it reveals itself suddenly to those who didn't quit. Chapter 28, The Lie of One Day and Why It Keeps You Broke. One day is the most dangerous word in personal finance. One day, I'll start saving. One day, I'll invest. One day, I'll learn how money really works. One day, I'll take control. But here's the truth. One day is not a plan. It's a delay mechanism. It gives your brain permission to stay comfortable today while pretending to be responsible tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. Wealth is not built by intention. It's built by execution. Not massive execution, not perfect execution, just consistent execution. People don't stay poor because they don't know what to do. They stay poor because they keep postponing what they already know. You already know spending everything you earn is dangerous. You already know debt steals your future. You already know investing early matters. You already know discipline beats motivation. But knowledge without action is useless. And delayed action is denial dressed up as patience. The wealthy understand this early. They don't wait for confidence. They don't wait for clarity. They don't wait for permission. They start while confused. They start while scared. They start while imperfect. Because momentum is built by movement, not by planning forever. Every week you delay is another week compounding could have worked for you. Every month you wait is another month your future self will have to work harder. There is no perfect time. There is only now, and now is uncomfortable. Now requires sacrifice. Now requires responsibility. But now is also powerful, because once you act, even imperfectly, the identity begins to change. You stop being someone who plans and become someone who does, and that shift alone changes everything. Chapter 29, Why Discipline Beats Talent Every Single Time. Talent gets attention. Discipline gets results. Talent looks impressive at the beginning. Discipline looks boring, quiet, uncelebrated. And that's exactly why discipline wins. Most people believe wealth is built by intelligence, luck, or extraordinary skill. But if that were true, the smartest people you know would all be wealthy. They're not. Wealth is not a test of intelligence. It's a test of behavior. The world is full of talented people who never became anything. And it's full of average people who became unstoppable because they were consistent. Discipline is choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort. It's doing the boring thing when no one is watching. It's saying no to yourself again and again without applause. Saving when you want to spend. Investing when you want to consume. Learning when you want to scroll. Working when you want to rest. That's not glamorous. That doesn't go viral. But it compounds. The wealthy don't rely on motivation. They don't wake up feeling inspired every day. They build systems that work even when they don't feel like it. Automatic savings, scheduled investing, structured routines, clear rules. Discipline removes decision fatigue. It turns success into a habit instead of a struggle. And here's the part most people miss. Discipline isn't punishment. It's freedom. Because once discipline is in place, anxiety disappears. You stop worrying about money because you already know what happens next. Your system is running, whether you feel good or bad. Talent fades under pressure. Motivation disappears under stress. But discipline stays every time. If you want to change your financial life, stop asking, how do I get more motivated? Ask instead, what system can I put in place so I don't have to rely on motivation at all? Because the moment your wealth depends on how you feel, you've already lost. Discipline is the quiet force that builds fortunes. And once you understand that, the game changes permanently. Chapter 30. Why most people never escape the paycheck cycle. Please like and subscribe if you want a better future for your children, your family, and yourself. It's very difficult to achieve success today, but I'm sure you'll succeed. All you have to do is learn and discover new things. Most people aren't poor because they don't earn enough. They're poor because they're trapped in a cycle they don't even realize they're in. Money comes in, money goes out. Repeat. Month after month. Year after year. No margin, no buffer, no leverage. And the most dangerous part? The cycle feels normal. Society teaches you to accept it. Bills are just part of life. Debt is normal. Stress is adulting. But this cycle is not an accident. It's the result of reactive money behavior. Most people manage money by reacting. They pay what's due. They spend what's left. They save if possible. The wealthy reverse the order. They decide first, save first, invest first, then live on what remains. That single shift changes everything. The paycheck cycle survives on urgency. Rent is urgent. Bills are urgent. Subscriptions feel small until they aren't. Wealth, on the other hand, grows quietly. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand attention. It waits patiently for consistency. And that's why most people never escape. They spend their energy fighting fires instead of building fireproof systems. They focus on income instead of structure. They chase raises instead of leverage. They look for shortcuts instead of discipline. Escaping the paycheck cycle doesn't require a miracle. It requires control. Control over spending, control over habits, control over priorities. The moment you build even a small gap between what you earn and what you spend, you gain power. That gap is where options are born. That gap is where investments live. That gap is where freedom begins. You don't need to escape the system overnight. You need to stop feeding it blindly, because the paycheck cycle doesn't break when you earn more. It breaks when you think differently. And in the next chapter, you'll learn exactly how the wealthy design their lives so money stops controlling them and starts obeying them. Chapter 31. How the Wealthy Design a Life Where Money Obeys. The wealthy don't wake up every morning wondering how they'll survive the month. Not because they're lucky, not because they were born different, but because their lives are designed, not improvised. Most people live financially on autopilot. They react, they adjust, they cope. The wealthy do the opposite. They engineer their financial reality. They start with a simple question: where do I want my money to go? Before it ever arrives. This is the difference. Average earners wait for money, then decide. The wealthy decide, then allow money to flow into those decisions. Their bills are predictable. Their savings are automatic. Their investments are scheduled. Their lifestyle is intentional. Nothing is left to chance. They don't ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Does this align with the system I'm building?" That shift changes behavior instantly. Impulse spending disappears when your future has priority. Random purchases lose their power when every dollar has a job. The wealthy don't rely on motivation. They rely on structure, automatic transfers, separate accounts, clear rules. Rules beat willpower every time. They create friction where spending should slow down. They remove friction where investing should happen easily. Money flows where systems guide it. And here's the truth most people miss. Wealthy people don't trust themselves with money. They trust systems. They know emotions fluctuate. Discipline fades. Desire spikes. So they design systems that work even on bad days. You don't need millions to live this way. You need clarity. Clarity about priorities. Clarity about direction. Clarity about what matters more, now or later. The moment your money has instructions, stress decreases. The moment your money has purpose, progress accelerates. This is how money stops controlling you. This is how it starts obeying. And in the next chapter, you'll discover the exact habit that quietly separates people who build wealth from those who only talk about it. Chapter 32. The Daily Action That Quietly Builds Fortunes. There is one habit the wealthy practice so consistently that it becomes invisible. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't create instant results. But over time, it separates those who build wealth from those who stay stuck forever. The habit is this: they move money every single day, even in small amounts, toward ownership, not spending, not consuming, not showing status. Ownership. While most people wake up and immediately trade time for money, the wealthy wake up and ask, "What did I move closer to owning yesterday?" Ownership of skills, ownership of assets, ownership of income streams, ownership of systems. Even when the amount is small, the direction matters. A few dollars invested, a small business reinvestment, a book that upgrades thinking, a skill practiced instead of scrolling, a connection nurtured instead of ignored. Small daily actions compound into massive outcomes, but only if they're consistent. This is where most people fail. They wait for motivation. They wait for more money. They wait for the right time. The wealthy don't wait. They act while conditions are imperfect. They understand something deeply uncomfortable. Time rewards motion, not intention. You don't need a perfect plan to start. You need momentum. Wealth is rarely built in leaps. It's built in quiet, boring, repetitive steps that no one claps for. And that's exactly why most people quit. There's no applause for consistency, no validation for discipline, no instant feedback for patience. So people stop. The wealthy don't. They trust the math of compounding. They trust the process. They trust that what feels insignificant today becomes unstoppable tomorrow. $1 invested daily beats $0 invested perfectly planned. 1 hour learning daily beats waiting for the perfect course. One conversation daily beats networking once a year. Momentum is the real currency. And here's the truth that changes everything. Once ownership starts, stress decreases. Once assets grow, freedom expands. Once money works for you, even slightly, hope returns. Hope fuels discipline. Discipline fuels progress. Progress fuels belief. This is how people go from nothing to something to unstoppable. And in the next chapter, you'll discover why most people sabotage their own wealth without realizing it, and how to stop doing it permanently. Chapter 33. Why most people stay broke even when they earn more. One of the most dangerous lies in modern society sounds harmless on the surface. Once I earn more, everything will be fine. That sentence has destroyed more financial futures than bad luck ever could. Because income alone does not create wealth. Behavior does. Most people believe their problem is not enough money. In reality, their problem is what they do with money when it arrives. When income increases, lifestyle expands. When lifestyle expands, expenses multiply. When expenses multiply, stress returns, just at a higher level. This is called the invisible trap of lifestyle inflation. You don't feel richer, you just feel busier, more responsible, more pressured, a bigger apartment, a nicer car, more subscriptions, more rewards for working hard, and suddenly the extra money is gone. The wealthy see income differently. They don't ask, "What can I afford now?" They ask, "What can this income build for me?" Every new dollar is given a job, and that job is not consumption, it's multiplication. They understand a brutal truth most people avoid. Money without structure disappears. So they create rules, rules that protect them from themselves. Before spending increases, ownership increases. Before lifestyle upgrades, assets upgrade. Before comfort grows, security grows. They delay gratification not because they hate pleasure, but because they love freedom more. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Wealthy people don't feel deprived by not spending. They feel empowered by controlling the flow. They know that every dollar spent today is a dollar that cannot work for them tomorrow. And here's the part that hurts, but must be heard. Many people earn enough to build wealth. They just spend like they don't. The issue isn't salary, it's discipline. The issue isn't opportunity, it's priorities. The moment income rises, most people celebrate. The wealthy restructure, they increase automatic investing, they build buffers, they strengthen foundations. Because they know something others don't. Wealth is built in the margins, not in the milestones. It's built in what you do quietly with the extra. The bonus, the raise, the side income. That's where futures are decided. And in the next chapter, you'll learn how the wealthy think about time differently, and why that single difference creates exponential results over decades. Chapter 34. The wealthy don't think in years. They think in decades. Dear viewer, please write in the comments what interested you most in the video. This will help us improve our videos. Most people measure progress in weeks. Some stretch it to months. A few ambitious ones think in years. But the wealthy, they think in decades. This single difference in time perspective quietly separates those who struggle forever from those who eventually live free. Short-term thinking asks, what helps me right now? Long-term thinking asks, what will this look like in 10, 20, 30 years? And the answers lead to completely different decisions. Short-term thinking prioritizes speed. Long-term thinking prioritizes direction. Short-term thinking wants results. Long-term thinking wants systems. This is why wealthy people are rarely in a hurry, but they are always consistent. They understand something most people never fully grasp. Time is the most powerful wealth-building tool on earth. Not talent, not intelligence, not luck. Time, when combined with patience and structure, does what effort alone never can. Compound growth doesn't feel impressive at first. In fact, it feels boring. Early progress is slow, almost invisible, sometimes discouraging. And that's exactly why most people quit. They expect dramatic results too soon. They underestimate how much can happen if they simply don't stop. The wealthy don't chase quick wins. They plant seeds. They invest, knowing the first years will feel unrewarding. They build businesses, knowing profits may be thin at the start. They acquire assets, knowing appreciation takes time. They don't panic when results lag. They expect it, because they aren't playing this year's game. They're playing a lifetime game. Here's a hard truth. Impatience is the tax the poor pay to the rich. When people quit early, they sell opportunities cheaply. The patient buy them. When people want fast money, they take bad risks. The patient wait for good ones. When people get bored, they abandon progress. The patient let time do the heavy lifting. This doesn't mean the wealthy are passive. They work intensely. But their urgency is focused on process, not outcome. They show up every day. They automate consistency. They let repetition stack. They understand that 10 average years beat one perfect year every time. And here's the paradox most people miss. Thinking long-term actually reduces stress. Because when you stop demanding instant results, you stop feeling like a failure every time progress slows. You trust the trajectory, you adjust calmly. You stay in the game. Wealth rarely comes from one big moment. It comes from thousands of small, unremarkable decisions made correctly over time. And in the next chapter, we'll expose why the wealthy are obsessed with ownership and why working harder alone will never make you rich. Chapter 35. Working for money is a trap. Ownership is the escape. Most people are taught one formula for survival: work hard, get paid, repeat. And at first, it feels logical. Effort equals income, time equals money. But this equation has a hidden flaw, one that only reveals itself years later. Time runs out. No matter how skilled you become, no matter how dedicated you are, your hours are limited. You can only work so much. You can only trade so many days for dollars. This is why working harder eventually stops working. The wealthy understand this early. Income tied only to labor creates ceilings. Ownership removes them. When you work for money, your income stops when you stop. When you own assets, money continues whether you're present or not. This is not laziness. This is leverage. Ownership means controlling something that produces value without requiring constant input. A business system, equity in companies, intellectual property, real assets, digital products, scalable platforms. The form doesn't matter. The principle does. The wealthy don't ask, how much does this pay per hour? They ask, who owns the upside? Employees trade certainty for limits. Owners trade comfort for possibility. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people stay employees not because they love security, but because ownership feels unfamiliar. Ownership requires responsibility. Decisions matter. Mistakes cost more. But the wealthy accept this trade willingly because they understand something critical. Risk is unavoidable, but direction matters. There is risk in starting something. There is also risk in staying dependent on a paycheck forever. The difference? One risk has upside. The other only delays regret. This doesn't mean quitting your job recklessly. It means using your job as fuel, not identity. Your salary is a tool, not a destination. Smart builders use earned income to acquire assets. They redirect cash flow into ownership. They slowly shift dependence away from time. This is why wealth often looks boring from the outside. There are no dramatic leaps, just steady accumulation of control. Ownership compounds. Effort does not. One business can outperform decades of labor. One asset can replace thousands of work hours. One system can change an entire life trajectory. And yet, most people never pursue ownership seriously because they confuse busy with productive. They confuse income with freedom. But freedom is not about how much you earn. It's about how little your presence is required. Chapter 36. The silent contract you make with your future. At the end of every real journey, there is no finish line. There is a decision, a quiet one, a private one, a moment where you decide who you're going to be from this point forward. Because wealth built from zero is not just about money. It's about identity. You are no longer someone who waits. You are no longer someone who hopes. You are no longer someone who depends on permission. You become someone who builds, owns, and protects. And that requires a promise. Not to the world, not to social media, not even to family. A promise to yourself. A promise that says, I will never go back to ignorance. I will never outsource responsibility. I will never confuse comfort with safety. From this moment on, you understand how wealth is built. You understand that money is created through value. That value compounds through systems. That systems require discipline. And discipline requires self-respect. This is the silent contract. The wealthy sign it early. Others sign it after years of pain. But once it is signed, there is no return. Because awareness changes everything. You now see how money flows. You see how debt traps people. You see how time is sold cheaply. You see how freedom is delayed by fear, and you refuse to participate blindly. Chapter 39, the final word. You started with nothing, no advantage, no inheritance, no shortcuts, just awareness and a willingness to change. That is enough, more than enough. Wealth does not require perfection. It requires consistency. It does not demand brilliance. It rewards discipline. It does not happen overnight, but it happens inevitably if you stay the course. From this moment on, remember, money is built quietly. Freedom is earned patiently, and wealth lasts when it is respected. If this audiobook shifted your thinking, even slightly, pause for a moment. Decide who you are becoming, and when you move forward, move with intention. Because the moment you understand how wealth is built from zero, you are no longer starting from zero at all. End of audiobook. If this journey resonated with you, share the chapter that hit hardest and tell us, what topic should the next audiobook explore?